stress. People don't realize like it affects the body as well.
Yep.
I have eczema.
Mhm.
I started so before I came here, I was like super stressed the hell out. I had like alopecia, like hair loss. Came back here, it's gone. Came back on the other side. I'm like this. I can show you, bro. You see this?
Oh, okay.
That's bad. What is your full name?
It's weird saying this in front of camera. Like,
You get a docs? I need to blur some.
no, it's more like I'm so used to my English identity.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever I have to use my Vietnamese name, especially in an English settings, I feel pretty strange about it.
Yeah. It's like me talking with the homies in Vietnamese, the English homies in Vietnamese. Okay.
So it's Đào Vũ Thành Công.
Đào. Last name is Đào.
Yeah.
Đào Huyền.
Yes.
Đào Vũ Thành Công.
Yes. So success.
And
one of my lecturers actually called me Mr. Success in the class.
Nice. So where were you born?
So I was born and raised here in Saigon. And
which district?
So originally it was in Tân Bình, but we moved houses a lot. So now I'm living in District 12, but I recently moved out with my girlfriend to Vinh Thanh.
Congratulations.
Right. Thank you.
So, how old are you?
So I'm 32. Yeah, coming to 33.
I remember you telling me off camera you had a northern accent when you started. So, like, tell me more about that.
So my family originally from the north. They just came here after the war. So
which year?
76. So yeah, so I was born and raised here, but then again, the neighborhood I was in was very northern. It was Tân Bình, and then it's broke up for a very long time. So my upbringing have been surrounded by northerners. Yeah. My family was pretty strict about not polluting my accents.
They wanted to keep your accent.
Yes, they wanted me to keep my accent, especially my grandma. She's somewhat like detesting my cousin's accents because she's like speaks the southern accent. So yeah, she always favors me, like compared to her.
Both your parents are both from the north?
Yes.
Where exactly?
So my dad is from Vĩnh Phúc, like north of Hanoi, and my mom was from Nam Định.
Nam Định is how far away is that from Hanoi as well?
I'll say
half an hour.
I'll say 2 hours.
2 hours by motorbike.
Yeah, around so.
So they have like a typical northern thick accent.
Yes.
And when they moved here and they had you, did you? I'm assuming before you went into like the school system, you still had a northern accent.
I still have my northern accent now. Okay. Like it's a little bit diluted nowadays. Like, so I'll say 70% of my word usage is northern.
What is this?
Glee.
No, it's not.
Huh?
No, it's not. It's not Lee. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So 70%. A lot of it has been like diluted throughout the years.
And now you're used to saying it's a Lee.
Yeah. So it's a mix of everything.
So then, growing up from let's say 0 to 10, you were going to school here. How was making friends with a northern? Because like your accent's northern, I would assume. So you go into the school system. Were you ever like identify as like, oh, I'm kind of different? I look around. I'm like, why does everyone sound?
Yeah.
Not like me.
Yeah. So it was especially difficult for me, especially in primary school, because I was like very new, right, to life in general. So I'd say it was very difficult, and my classmates and the people that I met made sure that it's more difficult. They discriminated against me for speaking a different accent, for having a darker skin tone.
Do you remember anything specific?
So like, they had a lot of, I'll say, somewhat along the line of nursery rhymes, but it's not for nursery, of course. So they have rhymes discriminating against northerners.
Interesting.
It is
So,
known throughout primary schools.
were you ever like physically bullied for being ignored?
Not to that extent, but verbally, yes.
Were you able to make friends?
Not a lot. I've not a lot of friends even until now because I'm pretty selected, and also I'll say I'm not too keen on having many friends. I'll say like maintaining connections with me is a lot of hassle. So I'm an introvert, so yeah, that takes a lot of brain work for me.
So you went from Kapmo, it was like how about Kaphai?
Hmm.
Anything,
It's pretty much the same things
but
happen.
more is it more intensified as you like starting to develop? You're like you're
Yeah.
feeling more of like an outsider.
So it gets crazier in terms of I'll say it's more of an adolescent thing.
Yeah.
It's very turbulent in terms of I'll say my relationship with my friends are not that good. More like classmates. I wouldn't call them friends. And I was too outspoken about bullies. So I tried to stand up against bullies at school,
You beat them up.
and I got beat up. More like it because they ganged up on me. I got tased by a guy once.
Haze?
Yes,
What year is this?
6th grade
God damn.
by my classmate.
Interesting.
So
So
that guy is a very big bully in class. So I stood up against him, and he's like, "Watch me! I'm gonna chase your bum down after school." And he did that. We got into a dead end. Luckily, there's a guy like gardening next door, so he kind of like stopped him. So yeah, if not for that guy, I would got beat up that day.
did you almost like hate being northern, or like you're like why am I like why is this happen to me?
Yeah, I'll say I pretty much somewhat isolate myself, and also yeah, because I was too brass, not just to my classmate but also my teachers. I was not the
You speak up,
yeah
and I think in Vietnamese culture it's like that's the opposite because here it's
Yeah.
about saving face.
yeah top saving face. It's about respecting your elders
So where did you
regardless of what they
where did
do.
you quote unquote like get this sort of like mindset where it's like it's okay to like go against the cultural norm?
I'll say I inherited a bit of that from my dad. He was brass as well,
Gotcha.
so that's why he could not climb up the military ladders. He told me that ever since I was a kid. So
What is the typical like Vietnamese millennial aspiration in terms of like living and being born here? Because like my outside in is like, oh, most people want to go U-Haul and then like go live abroad or like get some kind of like big one phòng and like have a stable salary.
Yep.
And just work up the corporate ladder.
Yep.
So what is life here as like a Saigonese person?
So I say early on I realized that's not for me.
But was that like the vast majority, or is that different? Because this is me just like insinuating.
It's the same. Yeah. Like I hear that from pretty much anyone, especially the elders.
Yeah.
Especially northern elders.
Yeah. And like, how did that impact your decision making in terms of like career?
So I kind of silently rebelled against that, but then again, I could not find a way to actively uh, go against it. So I was like passive aggressive about it. It's like a lot of that emotions got stuffed down, and I tried to do anything that contradicts my dad's will. So basically, what he wanted me to do is to have a stable job, ideally in the military.
Do you know what's the average pay in the military? If you were to get like a, we're talking about like combat, or we're talking about like more behind the scenes, more.
More like being an officer.
And do you know the average pay of that roughly? Can you ballpark it?
I'll say for the junior one, it's gonna be around 3 to 5 mil per month. But then again, everything like food and
It's provided, right?
it's provided.
How about like the senior or whatever officer?
Senior, I'd say is gonna be around like 10 to 15.
Since we're talking about salary and like cost of living, let's talk more about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I am what you call I don't know, but you,
Mm-hmm.
yep. um, so I have a very biased and privileged view of how I see Vietnam,
Mhm.
but you've been here all your life. You know, I'm sure you've talked to all walks of people.
Mhm.
So, what is like the average? How much you actually need to live? So let's start with housing.
Housing.
Yeah.
So prices are actually pretty crazy nowadays.
So what's the average like the một chung cư cao cấp?
Yeah, chung cư cao cấp is gonna be at
Luxury.
least 12 mil per month.
That's depending on the district, though, right?
Yeah.
How about in D3?
D3 to D1 is gonna be, I'd say, 15 to 20.
For decent one bed?
Yeah.
Pretty good? Okay. But then what are you talking about crazy? What's going on?
So I'd say the crazier ones are happening like into the lower brackets.
Oh, so like the 4 mils are becoming 6, 7 mils. Type of thing.
Yeah, like 5 to 6 now. You can't get a decent one under 5 nowadays.
Interesting.
And you gotta take into account the income of those people. Normally, they only make just enough to cover rent.
So talk about the income of those people. What is the average working person in Saigon's salary? Let's start off with interns. So just
Intern,
mới tốt nghiệp, you graduated. What are you looking to make?
I'll say from 5 to 8 per month.
And then let's say someone's more senior, along the lines of your age.
My age should be around 10 to 15. Should be.
Should be.
I don't say that we all make that money.
But you say that's like too big. That's like average.
Mhm.
How about to survive in Saigon? Is that enough though?
Huh?
Is that enough to survive in Saigon, bro?
I'll say barely.
Barely.
Yeah. So if you don't spend crazily, and you don't have a credit card, like me, that's like the dumbest mistake I made.
Do you think like most people here like they struggle with like pretty much I would assume because I was talking about this with another friend and it's like she was like it's so cheap. I'm like no, it's not cheap. If you're making like the wage here, it's the same anywhere else in the world. It's the same rat race where it's like everyone's just living check to check.
Yep.
That's why I assume that's happening here too. And
I think they don't take into account the effect of consumerism, like how little spendings chip up their income.
here,
Yes.
like people like, can you give us like,
For example, a drink, right? So a drink would cost somewhere like $1 to $3. The cheapest, like 15K.
Yeah.
So assuming that
what's the minimum wage here?
minimal is
For example, the baristas here.
barista makes 20 to 25K per hour.
Really?
So yeah, around $1.
Yeah. But that's considering with the converting it though.
Mhm.
But to give like the viewers more perspective, it's like 20 to 30K is like một tô phở. Or like
Not even.
not even nowadays. That's going up too.
So to put
một
it
ly
in
cà phê hay là
30K
bánh
is
mì,
a tô phở in District 12, the cheapest district.
Yeah. So like bánh mì.
Yeah, more like a bánh
sandwich.
mì. Yeah.
Which is equatable to like you're like, oh my god, Vietnam's so cheap. I talk about this. I was like, you go back in America, like the minimum wage is like I don't know, $15 to $17 per hour, and like that's the average $17 for a bowl. Or it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just like you're using currency as like to think like, oh my god, it's so cheap. But like take that out.
Mhm.
It's like that everywhere in the world.
Yep.
Which is insane, and it's only getting more expensive. Like, what are you doing when you got into like a band? You're about to graduate. Like, what did you study?
Just like every other kid. Like just normal things. Nothing useful.
How about Dai Hao? Like,
So yeah, that help is a little bit more useful because
University.
so the thing is I registered for several. As I got past the entrance exam, I picked my university because it provided a somewhat international environment because we had international lecturers as well and Vietnamese lecturers who study abroad.
Yeah.
And
What did you study? What was your major?
Business administration, the most generic thing ever.
And then, can you tell the audience what do you do now?
I'm a photographer.
And how did did you get support from your family? That you're going to because business is very different from creative. So like,
Mm-hmm.
how did they? What were their judgments on that?
Oh, my dad is like went to hell to prevent me from doing anything creative.
Yeah.
Because to like most of the labor class, anything creative is not useful. Yeah. But also because of the 40 years age gap between me and my dad.
What year was your parents born?
My dad was born in 49. My mom was 52.
Oh, dude, they're older than my parents.
Yes. I assume that way older.
No, wait, older.
Ah, okay.
54.
Ah.
We're like in the same generation, so I know exactly like the type of mindset. Oh my god. Okay. I relate to your pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to even have like a connection.
Yep.
Because it's very like an Asian, especially that
Mm-hmm.
gap is like there's no such thing as like a typical. I don't know, like a loving. It's more like you're my subordinate.
Yep.
You listen. I gave you life, and you kind of just.
Gotta follow along.
You gotta obey to me.
Yep.
That's about it. So how was that in terms of like emotional support for you growing up?
From my dad's barely. I could barely feel anything from him.
Yeah.
Except bitterness. He forced me to study a lot.
Yeah.
And even hitting me.
Yeah.
To force me to study.
Yeah.
Very early on, even in primary school. Funny enough, society kind of gaslighted all of us into thinking that's normal.
In terms of, dude, that's so common.
Yes.
Right?
Very common.
I think now this generation is a little less accepted, but still goes on.
Yeah. Still goes on.
But even for me, living in Canada, bro.
Yeah. Asian in Canada, still Asians.
So how was like going through photography and like how's your life now?
I'll say financially I'm still struggling, but then again, mentally I'm in a better place compared to when I was still deep in the rat race.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a rat race here in terms of like when did you feel that?
I feel it most when I see my colleagues, my friends, they talk about nothing but work and money and all that.
How has that rat race affected you in terms of thinking and like yeah?
That kind of like a wake up call because I've been so in it that I stopped doing things that I love. Like I used to love thinking a lot, but then again, it kind of forced me into thinking less and just do.
Just put your head down and work.
Yes. Don't think that much.
Yeah.
And it kind of like dulls me. I feel nothing.
Did you work a lot during your 20s? Was that still in photography or what were you doing?
I did a lot of different jobs.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even relate. So, graduating, I was volunteering for a nonprofit. So I was being an interpreter for them. They do they provide workshops and clinical sessions for people in Vietnam who need speech therapy.
Yeah.
So I translate and interpreted for them. I did that for a while along with teaching English.
Oh. Your English is really good. Did you go like Trung Tâm or like
No.
private tutors?
I tutor myself.
Really?
Yes.
If you talk to me on the phone, I wouldn't know you're Vietnamese.
Yeah.
To this day, do you feel Vietnamese? Like, what? Let's go into identity.
Okay. So I feel Vietnamese in my own ways.
Okay.
Good with being Vietnamese now. I don't deny that anymore.
I used to deny.
It's more like I denying my identity
Gotcha.
because I don't feel Vietnamese.
Gotcha.
I didn't feel Vietnamese enough. But now I came to terms with it. I am confident with my fluency in the language now. I realize that before I deny my own fluency.
In Vietnamese.
Yes. It's like I know certain things that even other locals don't know. So it's yeah, I came to terms with that and I accepted that. So that's how I also advocate other people using Vietnamese, especially with Gil, because especially those like you who chose to live here and build a life here, it's important for you to be more fluent in Vietnamese because it's what most people use here. And in order to live here, it's essential to be fluent with it.
You don't get like the depth of someone. I'm speaking from like an expat's view, where it's like if you just speak English, right? Because like you'll get like the fake nice Vietnamese, like oh, like we'll be nice to you, but if you don't understand language, you can go so much deeper, and you can get like the feel of someone.
I'll say that, yeah, it's true for most Vietnamese who use English as a second language. For my case, though, I use English as one way for me to express myself. It's no longer a second language.
Interesting.
I use it like dual language. So each language would represent a different side of me.
When you speak English, do you sound different versus
Yes.
like do you think different when you're speaking Vietnamese?
Yep, I'm more expressive in English. I'm more, I'll say, bolder.
Yeah. Can you talk about your emotions in Vietnamese?
Yes, nowadays I can.
But how about when you're younger?
When I was younger, I couldn't even find words for them.
Yeah.
A lot of them got bottled up, and then yeah, it turns into anger and frustrations. I vented in like unhealthy ways, like most males, especially Asian males. I see a lot of that.
A lot of anger,
passive aggressions.
But if you like break it down, like anger is just like you just look at the root of it. It's just hurt, just pain.
Yeah. Violence.
Yeah.
Violence. And it's somewhat encouraged in Asian culture as well. If a guy get violence, you usually like got brushed off very easily compared to women, right?
How do you feel about me as an outsider coming into this country and being like,
I don't think you're an outsider though. You're one of us.
Third culture kid?
Yes.
But it doesn't make sense because you're technically, if you go by the textbook term, you're not third culture.
Yeah, textbook term, I'm not third culture at all. But then again, I turned myself into third culture because my upbringing, I could not identify myself with the current culture here. So yeah, I kind of like identifying with your experience as well because it has so many similarities.
I feel like the more I tell my story, I thought I'm the only one that feels like this. But the more I tell, everyone feels like this.
Yep.
So the kid who was struggling with the Zhao Ming Ba. So what would you tell that kid that was getting bullied and like living in Saigon? Like what would you tell him?
Interesting.
You see that coming?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. So, younger self. I'll say strap in and enjoy the ride. Even though you don't feel like enjoying it at all. Because for what it is worth is life difficulties can teach you a lot of things. And it helps shape you into who you are. Like, and you will be grateful for it. Like once you get to sit down and you connect the dots.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yes, I actually love the lockdown time
Really?
Yeah, because I felt like it's a rest that I haven't got in a very long time.
It's interesting.
Like unlike other people, I feel very at peace with the lockdown.
Yeah.
I got time to be depressed. Back then, I didn't have time to be depressed.
Maybe not be depressed, but maybe grieve.
Yeah, more like grieving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like letting
grieve
go
for
of,
myself.
yeah, letting go of the things that you didn't receive
Yep.
as a kid. I think that's everyone wish they had like a better relationship with X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But be able to let yourself be like, I feel sad for myself. Know that you didn't get what you deserved,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not because you're like not deserving of that. It's just like your caretakers didn't know how to give that, you know, and that's like a big mind switch for me as well. You plan on living in Vietnam?
Yeah.
Saigon?
Yep.
Forever?
I'll say I'll move, like here and there.
Where? Where to?
Um,
Someday.
More like we're actually considering. Me and my girlfriend are actually considering somewhere like more like the lad.
Oh,
Not exactly in the lad, but it's more like somewhere in Lâm Đồng province.
ooh, very different lifestyle.
Yeah.
Let me know. I'll visit you guys.
Yep. Or maybe we'll have a commune.
Yeah.
Like we both have ideas about having a community.
Yeah.
Like building a community for ourselves, for people who feel like outcasts.
That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Same mission, bro.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.